The Urbanist is brought to you in association with the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi. Saadiyat Cultural District, Abu Dhabi is a beacon of hope and inspiration. A catalyst to spark growth and collaboration with museums and experiences, where art and science and nature and technology coexist.
The belief of Abu Dhabi that culture is the backbone of our society.
Stay tuned for a special episode of the show, in which you can hear His Excellency Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak explain exactly why and how Saadiyat Cultural District Abu Dhabi is the perfect place to collaborate, create and innovate. Saadiyat Cultural District Abu Dhabi, proud partner of The Urbanist on Monocle Radio.
You're listening to a special edition of The Urbanist, celebrating the show's partnership with the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi. Now, you might recall that Monocle's Robert Bound sat down with Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak, chairman of the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi, back in 2021. In that conversation, the chairman set out his conviction that culture is at the heart of any progressive society, and why, at a moment of reckoning in the world of so-called big culture, the ability to build new museums with fresh thinking at Abu Dhabi's Saadiyat Island was an opportunity not to be missed. Well, this very month, once again, Rob was lucky enough to be joined by the chairman to discuss the latest developments at Saadiyat Cultural District, Abu Dhabi, and to delve deeper into the fascinating world of this unique cultural hub. Why does it remain the perfect place to collaborate, create and innovate? Well, here is our Robert Bound in conversation with Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak.
It's wonderful to have the opportunity today to look beyond the crystal ball with all of your amazing projects in Abu Dhabi, in particular with the Saadiyat Cultural District, and perhaps go on a little bit more of a tour on this occasion. We are looking through the cultural sphere, also with a bit of an urbanism and a sort of city lens. It's been an emotional and long journey since we last spoke. So when you look out across some of your buildings and some of your projects, what do you see at the moment?
First of all, thank you for having me. You know, this project has been truly inspirational, not just for myself, but for every single person who has been involved in this project. We tend to forget to celebrate what us as human beings can create. And the thousands of people that have helped make this project come from a vision and a dream to reality is something to be commendable and to be celebrated. So I really wanted to start with that. Now, I'm sure when we spoke earlier, we spoke about the essence of the Saadiyat Cultural District, what it can become. I am very humbly sitting in front of you here telling you that this is happening. It is upon us. We're going to blink and the entire district is going to be full of life and full of emotion and full of creativity. This project is a monumental project that reflects a commitment to excellence in culture and architectural innovation. It is a showcase of the beauty of culture. It's a showcase of the power of culture. It's a showcase of the history of art. It's a showcase of what us as human beings can create and will continuously create, whether it is through performing arts or music or visual arts or dance or theater, and the list goes on. It is a place where the creative industries can flourish, that can continuously find platforms and find opportunities for young creatives to flourish. So it's a lot more than just a collection of fantastic institutions. That in itself is an achievement because you are bringing a collection of partners that will continue the story that the other has started. And I think having that within a 10 minutes radius from each other is what makes this place special. Having a story that is told. And I think this is important. These institutions have to tell stories, whether it is the Louvre and our universal story that is told there, whether it's the Natural History Museum, whether it's the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi, whether it's the National Museum, whether it's Team Lab. Each and every place has a distinct DNA, but at the same time reflects on the stories of its partnered museum or its brother's museum or sister museum sitting side by side with it. So not only is it inspirational, it is a clear reflection on how we emphasize the importance of culture that has been a place in our hearts and our DNA from day one. I want to remind everybody that this journey didn't start 10 or 15 years ago. This journey started before the formation of this country with the opening of our first museum in Al Ain, which emphasized again how we are connected with the East and with the West, how the land of the UAE has always been a bridge, has been a cultural bridge, how we have not just celebrated our heritage and our culture, but we use that as a platform to celebrate global culture and global heritage. So it's exciting to be a part of it.
It's amazing stuff, and you talk about it so passionately, rightly so. And as you say, these projects have been long in the dreaming of and in the making, Mohammed. I wanted, and I'd love to get a little bit of a progress report on some of the specific buildings and institutions that you're building, because I know that listeners will have their calendars and diaries primed at the ready, no pressure, because they'll want to come and visit these amazing spaces. But because we talked a lot about newness last time, and certainly you've mentioned the Louvre. I was fortunate to attend the opening of it. It was a wonderful, wonderful sort of week in Abu Dhabi. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about how some of the things that exist right now have bedded in. And when you talk about these projects being built by many hands, now you're seeing sort of many visitors coming in and out of those revolving doors and conversing about the things they've learned and enjoyed within those walls. But yeah, maybe you can give us a little bit of an idea of some of the projects that have really bedded in already.
Absolutely. So as you rightfully said, the Louvre has turned a little over 7 years old now. It's an institution that we're extremely proud of. Last year, more than 1.2 million visitors visited the Louvre Abu Dhabi. It's become a center of excellence. It's become a center of understanding and education with its universal museography and content. We have acquired more than 5,970 pieces of artwork from 313 artists representing more than 57 countries. That collection is growing, just like the collections in all our museums are growing. These are museums that are alive. And I say they're alive because year in, year out, they will grow in their collections, they're going to grow in their programming, they're going to grow in their exhibitions. And that's what makes it even more exciting, that even from the opening dates, they are evolving on a daily basis. At the same time, new assets have come to the district itself. One of our newcomers is the Abrahamic Family House, designed by David Adajay, which consists of a synagogue, a church, and a mosque. This has been up and running for a little over a year now, and it has been fantastic, where it is a place of worship for the Muslim faith, the Christian faith, and the Jewish faith, and compounded with fantastic programming. We have the Berkeley School of Music, that has been bringing in fantastic talent in the world of performing arts and music. At the moment, I'm actually having this phone call from the Berkeley School of Music here in Abu Dhabi. It has given opportunity for young artists to not just shine, but to connect with other artists from around the world. Other than the overall infrastructure that is on the island, whether it's educational infrastructure, whether it's community-based infrastructure like Monocle Saadiyat. When I say education, you have NYU, we have the other schools like Cranley, the American Community School, the French Lycée. So this island really is a place where people are going to come together to live, to work, to play, to understand, to learn. So it is something that is evolving on a daily basis. In regards of the other museum institutions, currently we are 76% construction completion as of April of this year. All of the museums that we're going to be talking about, whether it's the Natural History Museum, the Guggenheim, the Sheikh Zayed National Museum, and Phenomena, will all come into fruition by the end of 2025. And these museums are special not just from the content that they have, but also from the architectural beauty that they have. Whether it's the design of Frank Gehry at the Guggenheim, or Lord Norman Foster at the National Museum, or Meccano at the Natural History Museum, or MZ Architects at Phenomena. So by the end of 25, these beautiful structures are going to be full of life. And in the early 26, all of them will have visitors flowing through them.
I'm always freshly amazed, Mohammed, speaking to you and listening to the sort of breadth and depth of the ambition, really. It's always astonishing. I wanted to ask you, I mean, these institutions are obviously not monoliths. They are living, breathing spaces. They're full of conversations. They're full of exchanges. And I know that you have things like the Culture Summit, and you recently hosted a UNESCO conference in Abu Dhabi. I think that was back in February this year. This is the more sort of informal end of things, where you have a symposium and you let people kind of get up and say what they want. What about these things? What do things like the Culture Summit and the UNESCO conference, what do they add into the conversation around some of these amazing buildings that you're making?
Thank you for that. We don't want to treat these institutions as one-offs. On the contrary, they're a part of a strategy. They're a part of a vision. And that vision is celebrating global culture, celebrating global tradition, global heritage. And it's really understanding the DNA of the United Arab Emirates. Currently, we live in a society that houses people from all over the world living side by side with us. While they're living side by side with us, we are celebrating their backgrounds, their heritages, their cultures. And you see that within the collections of these museums. As a visitor of Louvre Abu Dhabi, you will see, regardless where you are from or what your background is, you will see a part of you in that voyage. And that's very, very important for us. This is what makes the fabric of the UAE and the fabric of the city of Abu Dhabi so special, because it is not just a celebration of culture, but it's a boiling pot that basically infuses different cultures together. And in that, almost creating something brand new, something that is fresh, something that is inspirational for future generations. Having things like the UNESCO conference, having things like the Cultural Summit, all of them play a role in cementing the importance of culture. At the Cultural Summit, it's a place where all voices are heard, not just the institutions that are globally renowned, but institutions from all over the world, smaller museums, smaller NGOs that want to have their voices heard, that want to find solutions for their problems, but at a larger, greater scale. This is the reason why we created the Cultural Summit, and it's been blossoming since day one. We are partners with UNESCO, and we have continuously been partners with UNESCO, whether it is partners in things looking within and safeguarding our heritage and our culture, or even looking without. We are partners with UNESCO in safeguarding culture and heritage in war-torn countries, in countries that have been affected by natural disasters, through our partnerships with ELIF. So there's a long list of things that not just continuously focuses on the importance of culture, but also harnesses the power of culture, because there's a belief that started many, many years ago and is strong right now, that culture is at the heart of everything that we do. Culture is the building blocks of what brings us closer together. It is the beginning and the end. And the more we understand it, the more we keep it open for all, the more we can grow it, the more we can make it a part of our global DNA.
And people's eyes are very much on the launch of the Guggenheim. Super exciting, amazing piece of architecture. People have obviously seen plans and drawings for it. I wondered if there was any sense if you could tell us some of the things that are going to be inside that wonderful institution. What are some of the artworks that visitors should be excited to see, I wonder?
So it's a beautifully designed museum. I think first and foremost, we have to give credit to the architect. Frank Gehry has done something that's very, very special. He has created spaces where art forms can truly shine. It's created places where commissions can come into play and interact with the building and interact with the visitors. The scale of the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi is quite inspirational. It sits on 28 galleries, 23,000 square meters of exterior exhibition space, a total floor area of 80,000 square meters. So by far the largest Guggenheim to date. And the reason why we're focusing on this is currently we have a little over 970 artworks that have been acquired by more than 429 artists representing 70 countries. And the reason why I'm focusing on that component, because this museum is a place where we are going to celebrate contemporary art. It's a place that's going to celebrate the emotion that comes out of contemporary art, but it also does it where it represents artists equally from all over the world, not necessarily from a specific region. Compounded by that, it sheds light on artists that have been misrepresented in the past, whether represented due to gender or due to race or due to geographical location. So you will have artworks from the renowns like the Rothkos or the Warhols or the Basquiats of this world. But at the same time, you will have artists like Hassan Sharif, like Farah Al-Qasmi. You will have artists like Shawqi, and the list goes on, not just from the region, but from regions and continents of Africa, Southeast Asia, Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe. And that's what's going to be special, because all this artwork is going to be side by side with each other, shown in a very beautiful, renowned way that gives you a global perspective of contemporary art.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff, and it's about time as well. And it's great that you are batting on the front foot in many respects there, Mohammed, by starting the museum's sort of purpose in life with this. It's sort of laudable and necessary. I've just come back from the Venice Biennale, where Adriana Pedrosa's sort of main exhibition was titled Foreigners Everywhere, which was slightly fighting talk, as you can tell from the title, but it very much focused on artists from what we call the global south, I suppose. And also it was a very joyous, although it was political, it was also very joyous, that exhibition. Do you get to see all of these things? I mean, it must be like having the most amazing artistic box of chocolates. You're obviously spinning a lot of plates in charge of these amazing sort of works, but do you get to peek inside the tea crates as some of these artworks come in, I wonder?
All the time. You know, we have a very rigorous process within our acquisition committees that goes out and acquires art and commissions artists for works. I'm very luckily and humbly involved in that, involved in it romantically, really. I'm in love with art. I'm in love with the concept of creation. And the fact of the matter is when you see these things come to life, you know, and you talk about them, it's special. You see them in pictures, it's special. But when you create spaces that truly make the art itself speak to somebody, that is what's so special about it. And I think, you know, what we're so lucky about here at the Saadiyat Cultural District and in Abu Dhabi, while we're creating these museums, we are creating them for a new visitor experience. We're creating them to showcase art in a completely different perspective. We're creating them and immersing the visitors in this art form, whether that's immersing them on the actual art that they're looking at or immersing them in the thought and the storytelling of this art form. So we don't just want to tell you, here, look at a Monet, or look at a Basquiat, or look at a Da Vinci. We don't want to just do that. To us, that's easy. What we want to do is tell you, what's the story behind this art form? You know, how am I going to engulf you, almost, you know, lure you in? Why did Caravaggio paint this painting? Who is Caravaggio? What makes this painting different? What makes it special? Why the shadowing in this painting is special? And telling you a story of every single piece in our museums. In some cases, using technology to do so, you know, interactive displays. In cases, using a complete immersion where you're immersed within a space in itself. And in other spaces is a new form of storytelling. So where we're utilizing, you know, interactive guides that guide you through this voyage. And some of them emphasize music, some of them emphasize smell. So it is quite different and something that we continuously evolve in, and we revolutionize the way we look at art.
I think everyone's supremely excited for the Guggenheim. So I'm glad you've been keeping an eye on the stock. I'm glad that you know what's coming in and out there. I also wondered if we could walk a little bit into the future around the Saadiyat Cultural District. You mentioned the Sheikh Zayed National Museum, the Natural History Museum. You're seated in Berkeley as we speak, Academy of Music. What about your hopes and ambitions for the Sheikh Zayed National Museum and the Natural History Museum? Because these are places of great sort of national importance. You know, some of it is obviously telling a national story as well and a regional story. So what can we look forward to as we walk through the doors of certainly the Zayed National Museum, for example?
All these museums, like I said, tell a story, and they're all as important as each other. All of these museums, their construction will be completed by the end of 2025. You look at the Sheikh Zayed National Museum, you know, you drive on the Sheikh Khalifa Bridge right now, and you look to your left, or you're looking to your right, depending on where you're coming from, and you see these beautiful monumental wings soaring from the ground that represent the falcon. That is our connection with nature, our connection with our earth, our connection with our animal life. The falcon itself represents power, it represents grace, it represents ingenuity. And that's a sort of direct reflection of who we want to be and who we are. Norman Foster took that thought and created this amazing design. Compounded by that, he took the ingenuity of our designs in our old homes and how we harness the power of the wind. So these falcon wings are also wind tunnels that basically lure hot air into cold air towards the museum itself. And now that museum is coming to life very quickly. The construction of that museum is going to be completed this year. The collection is continuously growing. The collection that doesn't just tell the story of the formation of this country, but tells the story of this land, dating back. Some of the earliest artifacts we have there are 7 million year old fossils found here in Abu Dhabi in the Dhafra region, representing a time when the area was rich with rivers and grasslands and forests. Then it takes you to some of the earliest human migration to this land, coming from over 300,000 years ago, coming out of Africa. It takes you to the communities and the societies that's created through the Copper Age, the Iron Age, the Neolithic Age, and the list goes on, and takes you all the way to the formation of the United Arab Emirates as a country that we know it. And what's beautiful in telling that story, there's a distinct line, almost like a string, that is linking that fossil from 7 million years ago to who we are today. And the designs of this museum really create this immersive, beautiful, interactive exhibitions that lure you toward these beautiful artifacts and these beautiful fossils, and at the same time continuously tell a story that is our national story and our story of who we are, whether through poetry, through music, through intangible heritage. So this is a museum that for us as UAE nationals, we're extremely proud about, because our story is going to be told in the most beautiful way possible.
You sort of cast a very beguiling spell, I have to say. I mean, that building, having just seen it on paper, just feels like it's going to be an absolute knockout design, as you said, from Norman Foster. The Natural History Museum, you've got an amazing opportunity, again, with this building, to really tell the story of the Earth in a very kind of entirely new and sort of groundbreaking way. Can you tell us a little bit about how these stories might be tackled and how you're taking that on?
Absolutely. It's truly an intercultural exchange between the Natural Museum Abu Dhabi and other natural history institutions. And this is why the power of partnership is critical. It's ensuring that it's showcasing global interconnectedness of natural history and promoting a broader understanding of our world. That is the essence of our Natural History Museum, but also looks at things in the world of natural history for the first time through an Arabic lens, which I think is critical for the region. Now, the collection itself is ever growing. Currently, we have over 1,100 objects, everything from natural specimen to meteorites, interstellar recordings, spacesuits, and the list goes on. And the whole point of this is that you would go through that voyage, you'll get a stronger understanding of our world, you'll get a stronger understanding of what we mean to our world and what our world means to us, how small we are in the greater universe. And then you would leave that museum hoping that I need to safeguard my world. I need to make sure I protect it, whether through environmental causes or other causes. I think this is why I go back to the power of culture and understanding is so powerful, because it changes mindset, it changes perspectives. It makes you look at things completely differently than you did before. And I'm so excited about the Natural History Museum, because even if you look at the museography, it is not conventional. We are almost creating scenes. Each display and exhibition is a scene in itself. It is not just basically having a fossil being standalone. It's telling the story, whether it's a story of the time, whether it is not just, here's a T-Rex. No, this is a complete or a close to complete T-Rex. It is the closest one-to-one scale you're going to get with a fossil of this sort of scale. And it's on an action pause. It is almost in mealtime, you're seeing it interacting with a Triceratops. It is quite special. You look at our atrium in itself. Our atrium is welcoming. It brings people together, where you have a family of 5 brontosauruses looking right down at you. I mean, that's going to be quite special in itself. So it is going to be a place that your imagination is truly going to flourish.
It sounds amazing. I feel like I need to know where the exits are. It might be it might be too real. I just wanted to ask you a couple of final questions, Mohammed. What's the atmosphere as you walk through Saadiyat Cultural District with some of these institutions that have bedded in so successfully, and there's construction going on? I mean, there must be an amazing vibe. I know there's obviously a lot of hard work going on there, but you must walk through that and kind of feel a real sort of wave of pride. But what's the sort of atmosphere on the ground at the moment?
There's such a powerful energy here. It is infectious. We see people from all over the world come here, and once they understand the vision and the story, they want to be a part of it. And that's the whole idea of this district, is we are all a part of it. This is a continuation of somebody else's story. And eventually, when it's all done and complete, somebody else will continue the story. This is not a standalone. It is not a start and stop. It is a continuous evolution and a continuous cultural revolution. This is what makes this place special, and I'm excited about it because, as you rightfully said, there is a certain energy here. It's a place where naturally, all of a sudden, the creative juices of your mind start flowing. You start thinking about, what can I do? If you sing, you want to sing. If you write, you want to write. If you draw, you want to draw. If you paint, you want to paint. And the list goes on. And then more importantly, you can start imagining and seeing that this is a place that's going to be full of life very soon. Surrounding these fantastic institutions and these museums, you have residential buildings being built. You have office buildings being built. You have retail experiences being done. You have restaurants. You have culinary schools. You have art schools. So in the very near future, all of this is going to be an infusion of creativity and life. So yes, definitely energy and excitement is in the air.
And I wonder broadly, I mean, this is a bit of an open-ended question, but I wonder what success looks like for you with all of these institutions, because I feel that lots of the things you've been talking about feel like you're giving people of Abu Dhabi, the broader Emirates, the broader region, and indeed the world, a huge cultural baton for them to pick up and run with. You know, you want to see young Emirati artists, you want to see young regional people becoming amazing musicians, having learnt what they've learnt and cut their teeth in some of these institutions that you're building. Is that kind of how you see it? It's one thing to learn about this stuff, but it's to pick it up as a baton and kind of run with it as a youngster especially.
Absolutely. I mean, I was asked this question once at the Louvre, and I can't show you this right now because it was an image, but I'll describe it to you. I said, success to me, of course, we talk about, the number of visitors, and we talk about the number of exhibitions and the number of programs that we do. That is always, something that we commend and we follow. But what was success for me, there was an image that I took that morning when I was walking down the Louvre. It was an image of close to maybe 250 to 300 students sitting under the dome of the Louvre. And they all had their notebooks opened. Some of them were drawing some of the things that they saw at the Louvre. Many of them were talking about it. And I just sat down and I listened. And I heard these, they couldn't have been more than 12 or 13-year-olds. You heard in their voices a level of sort of serenity where they were saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe what I just saw. I can't believe that there's this artifact from 3,000 years ago that created this, or this painting painted by this amazing artist that basically instilled me with so much emotion. And you saw these things and you can see that light in their eyes where all of a sudden they believe they can create. They believe they can either make music or make the most amazing dish in front of you, or focus on a brand new cuisine, or create a film, create a game, and the list goes on. Success is really focused on how we are going to continuously invest in youth and the opportunities for youth to excel in the creative industries. We talked in numbers, and if we're going to focus on numbers, this CCI strategy that we have put in play is going to create close to 30 billion dirhams in contribution to our GDP. That in itself is going to create thousands of jobs and thousands of opportunities for young culture enthusiasts to flourish. This is success in my eyes.
Well, I love the sound of it. Power once again to your elbow, Mohammed, for these amazing, the ambition, and seeing it happening must be, I guess, even humbling for yourself. But thank you so much once again for talking us through these cultural highlights and treats across Abu Dhabi. Thank you.
I always say I'm a strong believer of seeing is believing. So if you get a chance in the near future, I would love to invite you to come to Abu Dhabi and see these amazing achievements come to life. And I go back to the celebration of human capabilities. It is mesmerizing, it's eye-opening and inspirational.
Robert Bound and Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak there. And for more information on the Saadiyat Cultural District Abu Dhabi, visit dct.gov.ae. I'm Andrew Tuck. Goodbye, and thank you for listening, City Lovers.